welcome back to Speak Freely. Here we celebrate the freedom of speech, and I am back. If you are from my main channel, Mika Reacts and Reviews, I unfortunately had to reset my phone to factory setting and got locked out of my Google account that is connected to my main YouTube channel, and it's been a stressful few days, to say the least, but hopefully I'll be back soon. Until then, I'm going to just get on with it, and I'm going to start uploading more onto this channel and work on trying to get this channel monetized. I'm halfway there, so why not? Anyway, we are back with Bill Maher, and they're going to be talking about, of course, Roe versus Wade, the topic that was on tips of everyone's tongues or not. Alright, so we're going to right into it. But before you do, if you like this type of videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell to get notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal, my link in the description box below, and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is to visit my brand new merch shop, and all the links to the alternative platforms I'm on, my socials, ways to support me, ways to contact me for business is always in the links down below. Other than that, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. All right, here you go.
I'm wondering if this is, what do you think? Is this going to be the galvanizing issue that the left think it's going to be?
You want to start?
Well, first, there are already Republicans talking about outlawing the pill as well, and many of these states will, and even whether they specifically outlaw the pill, it will still be a crime. We're not going back to 1973. We're going back to 1931 and before. Well, a lot of states, my state of Texas, where I grew up, they have a law that it was not back to the 30s, but Michigan has a law that goes back to the 30s. Texas has one. Automatically, 30 days after Roe versus Wade is repealed, which will happen, it'll come out in June. 30 days. An abortion in Texas is a felony. No exception for rape, no exception for incest, life in prison for the doc.
That's Texas.
In Texas. Well, that's 30 million people. Michigan has the same law. No exception for rape, no exception for incest.
And we know that most Americans, including conservatives, do not believe that. They're not on that page.
They voted it in Texas not that long ago, and it's because they're not pro-life, Bill. They're pro-life in prison. They want to punish, they want to control, and they're going to be able to now.
Here we go with the whole fear-mongering and making the other side evil, right? They want to punish, they want to control, you gotta hate them, you gotta fight them, instead of people just being like, hey, I think there should be some sort of limits on abortion, and I just don't like the idea of babies being killed or human life just being snuffed out because it's inconvenient to you. Yes. We know this talking point. All pro-lifers are evil, white, conservative, misogynist men, and they definitely don't look like someone like me. Anyway, let's continue.
Well, okay. Go ahead.
I disagree. I don't think they want to punish and control. Look, I am pro-choice. But here we have a continuum, right? Somebody gets pregnant, and then there's birth. And that whole timeline in between, there should be a portion of that time, as there has been, when an abortion is legal, whether it's medical, the pill, or surgical. There's got to be a point at which we say, this is a human being capable of living outside the womb, where maybe we don't do that. I think that's what you see a lot of in Europe, and a lot of people are kind of settling around, okay, 15 weeks maybe. Now, I have a good friend, lifelong liberal, who happens to be attached to a children's hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. And he has seen preemies in incubators 5 months along. They are born, they're there struggling to survive, that are now 20-year-olds walking the planet. And he feels this is a lifelong liberal, and he feels very strongly about this, that once that baby is viable, why would you extinguish that life? Now, not everyone's going to agree on this. It's going to require some tough work. There are lots of questions.
Exactly. The thing is, most pro-choicers are for some sort of type of limits, right? If you see any of these street interviews, Steven Crowder just did an excellent one. When you first ask somebody, of course, their first initial statement is, yes, I'm totally pro-choice, women should have the right, blah, 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 right? Because that is their programming, and so they just like automatically spit that out. But once you start to break it down to people like, oh, okay, so like 6 months, and they're like, oh, oh, well, kind of, this a little bit, oh, that's kind of like a baby now, like, I don't know. Like, once you really start to spell it out to people, or like even show them sort of the graph of the development of a child, they start to sort of realize, like, I actually do have limits to this. Even if they never questioned themselves before, when you actually put it in front of their face, when you know, take them out of their mental programming that they've been trained to just spit out and say, regurgitate, and they actually start to critically think about the situation, most pro-choicers, a lot of pro-choicers are either personally pro-choice and I don't want to pressure other people, or just pro-choice with limits. The crazy minority who are yelling and the loudest on TikTok that's like, yeah, it should be literally right before it comes out of the birth canal, and it's not a baby, it's not a human, it just deserves no protection, no love, no affection, no nothing, right? Or even people who think like if a baby survives an abortion, that you should just let it sit on a cold slab of metal and die. Those are the minority. That is not the majority of people who believe in that. Just the same way that we don't like when progressives or people who are pro-abortion to demonize everyone on the right, or everyone who is pro-life. We shouldn't necessarily do that to everyone who is pro-choice. I mean, I know it's easier to do that because like most people, like there are pro-lifers who really believe that for the moment of conception is a life and then therefore you are killing a life. But for most part, most pro-choicers aren't these sort of like psychopathic maniacs who think, you know, crushing the skull, sucking out the brains, breaking out, you know, snapping his spinal cord and cutting up into little pieces is a pleasant thing to think about. And they do want they want some sort of limits to what can happen when an abortion, when someone's pregnant or not when it comes to abortion. But anyway, let's continue.
You just outlined what Roe v. Wade holds and what the Supreme Court is about to overturn.
But that won't ban abortions. I realize there are snapback rules in some states.
But states will. States have. Louisiana passed, you mentioned this in your monologue, a state assembly committee in Louisiana passed a bill yesterday, 7-2, it's not a final law yet, that says life begins at fertilization, which means the IUD is murder. This is what they're voting on in these Republican states. If they had your kind of sensible centrist position, I don't think people should be as upset. But they don't. The second largest state is going to make it a felony with life in prison.
Actually, Roe v. Wade doesn't just not allow abortion up to a certain point. What Roe v. Wade does is it stops the state from being able to put their own limits on it. So if a state says, hey, we want a limit of 6 months, first trimester, when the federal government had control over it, they could tell that state, you're not allowed to do that. If a person wants an abortion all the way up to 8 months, you are supposed to allow them that to happen. What Roe v. Wade did is stop the states from having any limits when it comes to the first trimester. It wasn't what he just said, that wasn't actually true. And most states are going to be centrist on it. This idea of like, oh, like every fucking state is just going to automatically go back to the 1930s. Yes, there will be some Bible thumping, Bible Belt states who will do that. There will be some conservative states to do that. And you are free to move. You are free to get the hell out of Dodge. You're free to move and go to a very progressive state that is going to allow you to chop the baby's head off as soon as it comes out of the womb. So you don't have to really worry about it. It's basically what the overturning of Roe v. Wade does is give the power back to the states and the power back to the people, right? Because yes, there are going to be some states who have automatic laws that goes right into effect as soon as Roe v. Wade is overturned. If it's overturned, most likely it will be overturned. However, if the people in that state, like majority of people in that state disagrees with that, they will just vote those politicians out, and they will vote politicians in that are more progressive and more liberal, that would have more loosely defined laws when it comes to abortions, right? And so when it comes down to it, you're giving the power back to the people to say what they want to be done in their state. Which for me, if CNN is correct, if 80% of Americans are super like pro-choice or pro-abortion, and 80% of Americans don't actually want this to happen, then you shouldn't actually have a problem with it. You should be like this easy breezy lane right now, because you would just be like, every American is going to vote in politicians who are super progressive, is going to have very super loose abortion laws. But I don't think that's what they're scared of. I think they know that the majority of people who are even pro-choice want some sort of limits, and that is what they're scared of. They don't want the power to be back into people's hand, and they don't want the citizens to have a voice when it comes to this, because they know the majority of people are sensible, is going to want some sort of limits on abortion, instead of letting just like this sort of chaos happen where people can literally have abortions up to 8 months, 7 months, 9 months. Like, it's freaking ridiculous. But anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
Right? Yeah. And again, just the perspective, most Americans think that's crazy.
I would agree.
I think probably even in Texas. Yes, they got it passed. Well, I mean, we'll see if something like that holds.
We'll see. In November, the Texas legislature is on the ballot, the Michigan legislature. If you all don't want felony life in prison laws, you can vote them out.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, another thing I
That's the
learned
point.
I think I maybe knew this, but I forgot it, is that it didn't used to be a partisan issue.
Right.
At the time Roe versus Wade was passed, it was not a partisan issue. It became a partisan issue because of the Christian right. They made it a partisan issue. They made it so that it became where the Democrats were for abortion being safe and legal, and Republicans were also when their mistresses got pregnant, of course.
Right.
But in general...
Okay, so the guy made the point that I just made, that they will be able to vote those things out. Michigan is at least Detroit, Michigan is quite democratic, so I'm pretty sure they'll have loose abortion laws. But that's the point. Like, you're giving the power back into the people instead of making it federally mandated. And I don't really see why. Well, I see why progressives, because they're very anti-freedom and they're very big government. And if you're giving the power back into people to say, what do you want to happen in your state? Maybe this will make people actually pay attention to their local government. Your local government is far more important than the federal government. It's going to more directly influence or affect your life. But for some reason, people very rarely pay attention to their local government. Maybe this will make people look at the local government and say, what do they want to go on in their state? And if you get outvoted, you can move. And I know people are gonna have this argument of like, well, everyone can afford to move. Like, that's such a privileged thing. Like, girl, you can work a McDonald's job for a summer and you will have enough to move out of your state. I did it when I was a teenager. I worked a summer, saved up like $1,500 and moved to LA. It's not that hard to save money and move. So if it's so important to you, you can leave. And if you're a teenager and you're like, I can't because I still live at home or whatever, then maybe you should think twice before hooking up with the guy in the bathroom at a fucking high school party. Like, maybe you should think a bit harder about that. All I gotta say is take some accountability and responsibility for your womb and for your body and for your sexual health by protecting yourself. And the other argument is like, people can't afford it. Like, there's so many people that can't afford contraceptions and stuff like that. That's such a stupid argument. Most people can afford contraception. Most people can afford condoms. And if you can't afford a condom, you shouldn't be having sex. Really, like, unless you live in the boonies where there's like 10 miles each direction from a convenience store to pick up a fucking condom or whatever, spermicide, whatever other prevention methods that you can do to not get pregnant, then there's 10 miles between you and another penis, so it's probably most likely you won't be having sex anyway, so you're good. And this other idea is that people don't teach contraceptions in school is absolutely ridiculous. I took sex ed, and this was like before progressive got like crazy, and I was taught about protection when I was 11 years old. Most people are taught about contraceptions. Most people have access to contraceptions, so that is a failed argument. Anyway, it's going to happen. Roe versus Wade will be overturned, and so a lot of people are going to cope with it, but it's going to happen, and there will be an adjustment period, and people will just get used to the new way of America. I'm actually surprised how moderate Bill Maher was when it came to this conversation. I thought he would be the one going like, oh my god, conservatives are mean, they're evil, they want to control women, they hate women. I thought he would be the main one saying that, but he seemed quite moderate on this topic, and he almost seems a little bit like he didn't want to say too much as well, which I can understand. But I think he's probably just like your basic fucking moderate Democrat or moderate liberal who do believe there should be some sort of limits on this, and it has just gotten too far with overcorrection from the left. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think of this video, what I said, what they said in the comment section below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support this channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is to visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below, and links to all the alternative platforms. My socials and all the ways to support me is links down below. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle, or I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go to the description box below and also in the comment section. Hit the link, go subscribe to my travel vlog channel, and or follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date, and you guys have an amazing day. Bye!